We're digging trenches all along our flanks. They won't be able to hit us the way the Stannis hit you, in a double envelopment. A pincer move. They won't be able to hit us from the sides. Good. What should we do? How do we get Rickon back?
We'll never get him back.
A monster has taken our home and our brother. We have to go back to Winterfell and save them both.
Last time we saw each other was at Winterfell, yes? You were making jokes about my height, I seem to recall.
Come to see me off, Greyjoy. Kind of you. Your master doesn't seem to like Lannisters.
He's not my master.
No, of course not. Your loyalty to your captors is touching. Tell me, how do you think Balon Greyjoy would feel if he could see his only surviving son has turned lackey?
We still have a hard march to Winterfell, and we won't be marching anywhere in this weather. Stannis camped here on his way to Winterfell.
We'll find out soon enough. In the morning, then.
Winter is coming. Those aren't just the stark words. That's a fact. If we march back to Castle Black, we winter at Castle Black. And who can say how many years this winter will last?
She's a friend to your brother. The sooner you make it to him, the sooner you get to see him again. Easy. Ready? Go.
Apocalypto!
What?
Run! Run, Stevie! Run! Woo! Oldtown!
Chad Summerchild, we have many plot lines to resolve. Huh, so if you have an unresolved plot line that you don't know what to do with, you just kill the character? But what about that plot line with my cousin Sasha, and the maxi pad, and the dog net absorbing people, and my regeneration? This seems really lazy and frankly doesn't make any sense at all. Chad Summerchild, Queen in the North. Wait, what? Do you even understand how feudalism works? I'm not even the heir to Summerfell, and Summerfell's not even in the North, and I'm a boy. Queen in the North. Queen in the North. God damn it. And our episode begins with everyone getting ready for the trial, and boy is Tommen depressed. And this prostitute wants her money. The quality of whores in King's Landing has really gone downhill since Littlefinger left town. And then this dwarf child asks for Pycelle's attention. Why yes, random dwarf child who happens to be in the Red Keep for no reason, I will listen to you. And then we're treated to this vitally important scene of Loras confessing. I'm sure this is all leading somewhere. And then the Mountain alerts Tommen that it's time to go, and then tells him it's not time to go. You probably could have just left him in the chair zoning out. So everyone's wondering where Cersei is, so the High Sparrow sends Lancel and his cronies to go get her. I'm sure now they can take on the Mountain. I mean, it's not like the entire reason they're having trial by Septons is because the cronies couldn't take on the Mountain. But then Lancel sees a little boy and decides that he needs to follow him for no reason at all.
I think you've got to start wondering, what the hell is this plot?
Meanwhile, oh yes, strange dwarf child, I will follow you down into a dungeon. And then Pycelle asks, where's the king? You see, that's how kings normally send messages to maesters, via strange, homeless dwarf children. But no, the entire thing was a clever ruse by Qyburn. Rather than have you go to the Sept of Baelor and get blown up there, I will lure you down into the dungeon to get stabbed here. I have given these children candied plums, and that's all you need to give to children to make them murderers. Well, I've got to hand it to Pycelle. He does fend off a couple before getting taken down. And after about 30 stabs, he's still alive. Meanwhile, at the other completely pointless luring, Lancel now wants to hurt this boy that he's following for no reason. Keep in mind, Lancel was going to the Red Keep to get Cersei, so he would have had to face the mountain anyway. I'm not sure why anyone would want to lure Lancel down here to see all of the wildfire. Anyway, Lancel is stabbed once and is instantly crippled. Strange, I was actually expecting Lancel to headbutt his attacker, jump over a bridge, swim to shore, walk through a crowd, go clear across the city to his actor friend who happens to be a miracle healer, jump from a second-story window, run through the city, slide under a cart, run some more, jump again off a second-story window onto a fruit cart, fight a deadly assassin in the dark, head clear across the city again, threaten another assassin, steal a mask, get a ship to Westeros, head to the Twins, kill some Freys, drain their blood, take the meat off their bones, secure the Frey kitchen, learn how to cook, meticulously make pie crust, then bake that pie and kill Walder Frey. But no, Lancel acts like he's been stabbed. What a pussy. Anyway, the kid comes over and Lancel asks, "What are you doing?" And the kid runs away again. He wasn't doing anything. Meanwhile in the Sept, Marjorie has the most incredible foresight ever. She for some reason knows she's in danger. How does she know this? Well, she drops this piece of pseudo-logic. Cersei understands the consequences of her absence, and she is absent anyway, which means she does not intend to suffer those consequences. What? How does that make any sense at all? One could argue Cersei understands the consequences of her absence, and she is absent anyway, which means she completely intends to suffer those consequences. I mean, just the other day I understood the consequences of walking outside in the rain without an umbrella. And you know what? I walked outside into the rain without the umbrella anyway. I completely intended to suffer those consequences. On a completely different note, all the time in the real world, people don't show up to their trials. And the immediate assumption is they've fled. Rather than just thinking that Cersei has left King's Landing, Marjorie has geniusly put together that Cersei wants to kill everyone, including her uncle. Ugh, Marjorie the super genius. Meanwhile, underneath the Sept, Lancel has figured everything out and needs to save hundreds. Which makes me wonder, why was he led down here where he almost saved hundreds? And why didn't the kid finish him off? Anyway, the Sparrows are preventing everyone from leaving for some reason. Loras already confessed and gave up his lands, so I don't know what else they want with everyone. I know the High Sparrow said that they couldn't leave until after Cersei's trial, but why? And here we see that Lancel was only about 10 seconds from saving everyone. Why lead Lancel down here and have him almost spoil everything? That's a really, really stupid plan. Well, the ecto cooler goes off, and Science Officer to Cersei enjoys the view. Thank goodness. God forbid we actually find out what Marjorie was planning and what the High Sparrow really wanted. All that time in the party room developing characters for...
I think you've got to start wondering, what the hell is this plot?
And Cersei decides to quite uselessly torture Septa Unella. The High Sparrow gets to die instantly, but this random grunt? Nah, torture. Now Cersei claims that she killed all of the sparrows, but I will say a few of those sparrows were on their way to the Red Keep. For instance, these two guys behind Lancel, still alive. Anyway, Cersei sends in the Mountain to go torture Septa Unella. I guess he's going to rape her? That's certainly what the Mountain is known for. The undead can get erections? What a weird random scene that doesn't really advance the plot. Anyway, Tommen is finally sick of all the plot holes and decides he's out. I'm sure on the way down he thought, where are my other 6 Kingsguard? That's Kingsguard 1, Rebels, Traitors, Boars, Littlefingers, Dwarves, Sand Snakes, and Windows, 10. Next we find ourselves at the Twins, and Wolverine in disguise looks lustily at Jaime. And then Bran says that she wants his golden fingers in her twat. Let all the Jaime-Wolverine shipping begin now. Weirdly, Walder Frey says that he has Edmure now back in a cell. Jaime had promised Edmure comfortable rooms at Casterly Rock. I guess Jaime is a big old liar. Anyway, in case you were thinking about sympathizing with Walder Frey, more time is put into making him a cartoon. And speaking of cartoons, we're back with Cersei, who has found out that Tommen is dead. And I guess she's mildly upset? I mean, Cersei's love for her children was supposed to be her sympathetic characteristic. Jaime even said so a couple episodes back. I mean, Ramsay Bolton's been dead an episode and we're already looking for a replacement? Meanwhile, Sam and Gilly, the only 2 people without a jetpack in all of Westeros, have finally made it to Oldtown. And for some reason, honor-obsessed Randall Tarley has not hunted Sam down. Keep in mind, this is not a case of Cameron Fry stealing a Ferrari. Randall Tarley is a psychopath who threatened to kill his own son.
Tomorrow, you're going to take the Black, forsake all claim to your inheritance and start north. If you do not, He said. Then we'll have a hunt. And somewhere in these woods, your horse will stumble, and you'll be thrown from your saddle to die.
It's also the first day of winter in Westeros, so the ravens are flying. There seem to be enough ravens for about 10,000 houses in Westeros. Anyway, Sam checks in at the Citadel, and I was really hoping for Sorella Sand. But we don't get that, and we find out the Citadel still thinks Jeor Mormont is Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. First of all, Tyrion knew Jeor died and told Jorah, so how is the Citadel unaware of this information? Well, no Sorella, no Marwyn, no Lazy Leo, and no Jaqen H'ghar. Still, Sam arriving at a library may be the high point of this episode. Meanwhile in Winterfell, a fucking season late, Davos finally confronts Melisandre about Shireen. She confesses, and Jon banishes her. So a child murdering an adult is execution, but an adult murdering a child is banishment. Oh god, and then this conversation. Ugh. So Jon starts the conversation by saying that the Lord's chamber is being prepared for Sansa. This makes sense. Sansa is the Lady of Winterfell in 3 different ways. She is the last known surviving Stark, she is the widow of the former Lord, and it was her army that took the castle. Don't get me wrong, Sandra is an asshole who let her brother die, but Winterfell is indisputably hers. And yet Sandra is puzzled and thinks that Jon should take the Lord's chambers. Next, Jon mentions that Littlefinger sold Sandra to Ramsay, and asks if she trusts him, and Sandra says only a fool would trust Littlefinger. Of course, Sansa's the one that trusted Littlefinger, and then Sandra tells Jon that she's sorry she didn't tell him about the Knights of the Vale, but fails to give a reason for why she kept that information from him. But all is forgiven. Meanwhile in Dorne, we find that the Lord's younger brother's bastard ex-girlfriend is now in power, because that's how succession under feudalism works. And if kinslaying ain't a thing up in the north or the Iron Isles, why should it be a thing in Dorne? And Olenna Redwine seems to be running the Reach, because the mother of the Lord, who happens to be from a completely different house, would take over. And before you tell me that perhaps the Tyrells have all been killed off, no, they haven't.
My cousin Alana was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. Oh, she grew up to be the most beautiful woman and married a handsome lord, and they have darling children and live in a castle by the sea.
Well, it all doesn't matter because their plots are just getting rolled up into the Dany plot anyway. Meanwhile in Meereen, Dany is breaking up with Daario. She wants Daario to help with Slavers Bay's transition to democracy. And Daario is especially suited for this, considering his entire life has been spent killing people. A great man once said, "Fuck Meereen, fuck the people." That man was Daario Naharis, diplomat, statesman, peacekeeper. So Dany essentially tells Daario she needs to play the field. Apparently all the Dothraki, Unsullied, Reachers, Dornish, and the dragons aren't enough. Anyway, her marriage possibilities are Jon, Euron, Jaime, Littlefinger, and Sweet Robin. Let the Dany Sweet Robin shipping begin. Anyway, Daario figures out that it's all Tyrion's doing. I guess Tyrion didn't want another Shay situation. And who knows, maybe Daario will figure out who the Harpy is. Or maybe he'll marry Kinvara. Because otherwise those plot lines were completely pointless.
I think you've got to start wondering, what the hell is this plot?
And then Tyrion weirdly says to her, "You're in the Great Game now, and the Great Game is terrifying." As if Dany's adventures in the Dothraki Sea, Qarth, and Slavers Bay have been easy. Weirdly, Dany and Tyrion get incredibly sentimental with each other. They've honestly spent about 2 weeks together total. Remember, Dany flies away on her dragon almost immediately after Tyrion arrives, and she just got back to Meereen last episode. Tyrion has given Dany exactly one piece of good advice. Don't burn Yunkai and Astapor to the ground. The advice that almost any human being would give her. And then we're back with Walder Frey and Wolverine. Okay, let's just suppose that Wolverine can teleport, and Jaqen H'ghar was perfectly fine with her stealing some masks. Why on earth did the Frey household welcome her in? And then how did she discreetly butcher 2 men? And then how did she get access to the kitchen? And then the making of the pie crust? I mean, you need the cold water and a little fork, and you separate things out and you make them into pea-sized little things. Even assuming that Wolverine has that kind of patience, she would have to be in the kitchen for hours. Did she tie up the entire kitchen staff? And this is the kicker. I'm not even sure if Walder actually ate a slice of the pie. When Walder examines a piece of pie, it seems to have big chunks of fingers in it. He would have noticed big chunks of bones had he been eating a slice of the pie. Walder suffers from disgust and pain for about 1 minute. Meanwhile, I think Wolverine put about 8 hours of work into this exercise. Well, whatever. In the end, Wolverine is tickled pink. She has so much in common with her sister Sandra. And speaking of Sandra, Littlefinger tries to make the move on her while revealing his true motives. He wants the Iron Throne. Boring. Anyway, Sansa leaves him a little blue-balled, and so to spite her, he tries to turn her against her brother. He suggests that people should rally around her and not a bastard. Ridiculous. Why would anyone rally behind a bastard deserter from the Night's Watch? Especially when the true-born Lady of Winterfell who won the war is right here. Meanwhile, north of the wall, Uncle Cold Hands has to say goodbye because he can't go through the wall. I hope you went to the bathroom, Bran, because he won't get another chance until Castle Black. And so next Bran decides he wants to check his email in the Werewood net. You can go anywhere in space and time. The fate of the world rests in your hands. And so Bran decides to visit Neil Patrick Harris. Now, not to get all conspiratory, but who the hell is that woman on the right? And why this conspicuous scene where he leaves his sword next to this rag? It's a son, and it's some blood, so it's like a bleeding star. That's ridiculous. The baby is already born, and blood plus a star isn't a bleeding star. Maybe they're just showing off Arthur Dayne's sword, Dawn. See, it's a rising sun. It's dawn. Why is it important that the Sword of the Morning is there? And they keep showing this woman, but they won't show the other woman. And the baby's name is Moonchild? God damn it. We fundamentally haven't learned very much, especially if the show is combining Starfall with the Tower of Joy. Assuming there wasn't another baby there might have been. We still don't know who Jon's father is or how House Dayne relates to it all. Meanwhile in the north, everyone is bickering, but Jon is trying to get everyone to rally against the White Walkers, and so Lyanna Mormont starts shaming some dudes. Lord Manderly, you refuse the call. Lord Glover, you refused the call. Lord Kerwin, no, fuck you, Lyanna Mormont. No one called us up.
We went down to Castle Kerwin. I know that Lord Kerwin...
We fight with the army we have.
You sit your 10-year-old ass down and stop talking trash about House Kerwin. And then out of fucking nowhere, Lyanna Mormont declares that Jon is her king. I'm sorry, but Sandra may be a jerk, but she did win the battle. And pending Bran's return, she is Robb's heir and Ramsay's widow. Jon was about to lose the battle. Not to mention, he's a bastard deserter of the Night's Watch. I understand that people have forgotten how feudal succession works in both the Reach and Dorne, but the North as well?
I think you've got to start wondering, what the hell is this plot?
Why? Because a 10-year-old from the least important house in the North says so? She spent the whole battle playing fetch with Ghost. Do they hate women that much in the North? And do women hate themselves that much in the North? Then Lord Manderly stands up and says that Jon avenged the Red Wedding. Actually, Ramsay and Wolverine avenged the Red Wedding. And then everyone declares Jon the king in the North, including the Vale Lords? Why is this bastard their king? They just saved his ass from losing a battle. And then Davos, after just saying last episode that his big fault was putting his faith in kings, puts his faith in a king.
I think you've got to start wondering, what the hell is this plot?
Sandra must be thinking, fuck, there goes my birthright again. Oh no, wait, she's cool with it. So next Jaime finds King's Landing still smoldering, even though Elena already had time to go to Dorne. And there he finds Qyburn as Hand of the Queen, crowning Cersei queen. Kind of circular reasoning. Well, Napoleon did it. You know, Cersei actually still has the old High Septon in the dungeons, but I suppose she's done with religion for now. So who exactly is supporting Cersei at this point? The Vale in the North over Jon. She has declared war on the Reach and Dorne. The Stormlanders, mainly the Baratheons and the Estermonts, should feel usurped. The Riverlanders are mostly spent. Even the Westermen should be upset that she killed Kevan and Lancel. And the small folk should be furious that she blew up the Great Sept of Baelor. And for the fourth time, feudal succession has just been forgotten. This fundamentally doesn't make any goddamn sense. And then meanwhile over in the ocean, we find out that Dany didn't even need those slavers' ships, or the Ironborn ships, because the Dornish and the Reach were bringing their navies over anyway.
I think you've got to start wondering, what the hell is this plot?
And the Dothraki? They love the sea now.
Don't mock them. They're the first Dothraki you've ever been on a ship. They followed me across the poison water.
Yeah, whatever. Screw season 3. So yeah, Varys and Daenerys met off screen. I wonder if they talked about how Varys tried to poison her season 1.
I sent letters to Varys, the spy master of King's Landing.
What was the content of these letters?
Information.
What information?
When you and Viserys arrived in Pentos, his plan to marry you to Khal Drogo when you were married, when your brother died.
You told them I was carrying Drogo's child? Yes or no?
Khaleesi.
Don't call me that. Did you tell them I was carrying Drogo's child?
Yes.
That wine merchant tried to poison me because of your information.
Ah, well, at least we get to end with a smile on Daenerys' face. See you guys in a couple days at the serious Q&A. Put Q&A : before your questions in the comments below. And screw it, put some unserious ones there too.